The world does not owe you attention. It does not owe you respect. It does not owe you recognition. The world operates on one cold, unbreakable law: value. And until you become someone of undeniable value, the world will look right through you. Not out of cruelty, not out of malice, simply because average is invisible. Most people will never hear this truth. They will spend their entire lives performing, talking loudly, dressing sharply, posting carefully, crafting an image designed to make others notice them. And for a moment, it works. People glance, people react, people engage. But then, the moment passes, and nothing changes. Because attention without substance is a fire built on paper. It burns bright, it burns fast, and then it disappears, leaving nothing behind but ash and silence. You are not here to burn quickly. You are here to become something that lasts. There is a type of person the world cannot ignore. Not because they demand attention. Not because they speak the loudest in the room, but because something about their presence feels different. Something in the way they carry themselves. Something in the steadiness of their eyes. Something in the quiet confidence of someone who has been through the fire and came out harder. That person does not seek your approval. They do not need it. They built something inside themselves so real, so deep, so consistent, that recognition became inevitable. Not chased, inevitable. That is who you are becoming, if you are willing to do what most people refuse to do. Understand something about the human mind. We are trained from childhood to seek validation. From parents, from teachers, from peers, from strangers on the internet whose names we will never know. We are conditioned to perform, to raise our hand, to speak up, to make ourselves visible. Because somewhere along the way, we learned that visibility equals worth. That being noticed means you matter. And that silence means you have been forgotten. That conditioning is a lie. And it has kept more talented, capable, powerful people invisible than any external obstacle ever could. The person who screams the loudest in a room of leaders is escorted out. The person who speaks least, but says something that shifts the entire conversation, is remembered for years. Presence is not noise. Presence is weight. And weight is only built in silence, over time, under pressure, when nobody is watching. Here is what the weak version of you wants. It wants shortcuts. It wants recognition before the work. It wants people to see the potential without witnessing the process. It wants respect without scars, admiration without sacrifice, power without pressure. And because that version of you seeks recognition before it has been earned, it performs. It talks about goals instead of working toward them. It posts about transformation before the transformation is complete. It surrounds itself with temporary validation because deep inside, it is terrified that if it stops performing, people will realize it has nothing real to offer. You must kill that version of yourself. Not with anger, with discipline. Discipline is not a punishment. Most people have been taught to see discipline as restriction, as suffering, as the thing that takes away pleasure and fun and spontaneity. But that is a weak man's perspective. A perspective designed by people who could not handle the truth. The truth is this: discipline is the highest form of self-respect you can offer yourself. Every time you wake up when it is dark and quiet and your body says stay, and you rise anyway, you are telling yourself something. You are saying, I take myself seriously. Every time you train when you are tired. Every time you study when you would rather be distracted. Every time you stay silent when you want to react emotionally, you are building something. Quietly, privately, powerfully. And that something compounds. 1 week of discipline does not change your life. 1 month of discipline begins to shift things. 1 year of discipline makes you almost unrecognizable. 3 years of discipline, and you become someone that people who knew the old you cannot fully explain. They see you. They feel something. Something has changed. Something is different. And they do not have the language for it because they never witnessed the process. They only see the result, and results cannot be argued with. This is the path. It is not glamorous in the early stages. Nobody cheers for you at 5 in the morning when you are alone in the cold working towards something that has not yet materialized. Nobody gives you a standing ovation for the meal you did not eat, the distraction you ignored, the argument you walked away from. The world does not applaud discipline while it is happening. It only acknowledges it after it has produced something undeniable. So you must learn to be your own witness. You must learn to find meaning in the process itself, not in who is watching, not in who approves, not in the numbers, not in the comments. In the quiet knowledge that you showed up today when you did not have to, that you chose growth over comfort, that you chose the future version of yourself over the present version's fear. That choice, repeated daily, is what transforms a person. Let us talk about silence, because silence is perhaps the most misunderstood weapon available to a person in transformation. Most people cannot be silent. They fill every room they enter with words. They offer opinions before they are asked. They share achievements before they are solidified. They announce plans before they have taken a single step. And in doing so, they release the very energy they need to complete the work. Spoken ambition without action is vanity. Announced goals without execution are just noise. The person who tells everyone about the mountain they are going to climb rarely reaches the summit. They spent their energy on the announcement. The person who says nothing, who trains quietly, who reads daily, who builds skills methodically, who refines their thinking in private, who carries their goals like a sealed letter that nobody else has read. That person moves with a different kind of intensity. Because all of that energy that would have been released through performance and validation seeking is being redirected inward, into the work, into the growth, into the becoming. Silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. And in a world that has mistaken noise for power, the silent builder is the most dangerous thing alive. Think about the two versions of a person you know. You have met both of them. The first one is always talking, always present on every platform, always announcing, always explaining, always justifying, always performing. And you find yourself not respecting them, not fully, because somewhere underneath all that noise, you sense the emptiness, you sense the fear. The constant performance tells you what they are afraid you will discover if they ever stopped, that there is not much there. Now think about the second person. They do not talk much, but when they do, you listen. Not because they demanded your attention, but because everything about them says they have seen things, done things, built things. Their calm is not arrogance. It is the quiet of someone who no longer needs to prove anything, because the results have already done it for them. You find yourself watching them when they enter a room. You find yourself wanting to know what they are thinking. You respect them without being able to fully explain why. And you never saw them ask for that respect. Not once. That second person is not mythological. That second person is who you become when you choose discipline over performance for long enough. Now let us speak about the interior work. Because becoming impossible to ignore is not only physical. It is not only about what your body looks like, or what your resume says, or how impressive your results appear from the outside. The most powerful transformation happens internally. And it begins with something most people avoid their entire lives: self-honesty. You must look at yourself without the filter, without the excuses, without the narrative you have been telling yourself about why you are where you are. You must be willing to sit in the discomfort of seeing yourself clearly, not harshly, not with cruelty, with accuracy. Because you cannot build a stronger version of yourself on a foundation of self-deception. Who are you when nobody is watching? What do you do with the hours that nobody ever sees? How do you treat yourself in private? How do you speak to yourself inside your own mind? Because that internal world, that private conversation you have with yourself constantly, is either building you or destroying you. And most people have allowed that inner voice to become their worst enemy. A voice full of doubt, comparison, resignation, and quiet surrender. That voice must be retrained, not silenced, retrained. You do not silence weakness. You replace it with repetition, with evidence. Every day that you do what you said you would do, you give that inner voice proof that you are someone who can be trusted. And over time, that inner voice changes, not because you forced it, but because the evidence became undeniable, even to yourself. Emotional control is another pillar of this transformation that cannot be overlooked. In a world that has become increasingly reactive, increasingly impulsive, increasingly loud, the person who can feel everything and still respond with composure is extraordinary. You will be provoked. You will be disrespected. You will be underestimated. You will be tested. Not always intentionally, but life applies pressure. People apply pressure, and most people break under that pressure. They react, they explode, they expose every fracture inside them, and in doing so, they hand power to whatever provoked them. The person you are becoming is not someone who chases relevance. Not someone who begs for a seat at the table. Not someone who measures their worth in likes, in followers, and how many people clap when they walk in. The person you are becoming walks into a room and changes something about it without trying to. Not through arrogance, through presence, through the accumulated weight of every quiet decision made in private, through the unspoken knowledge of what they have overcome, what they have built, and what they are still building. That person does not need to be the loudest. They do not need to be the most visible. They simply need to be real, solid, consistent, disciplined in a world that has largely abandoned discipline, patient in a world of instant gratification, focused in a world of constant distraction, grounded in a world of endless performance. That is the rarest thing you can become, and the rarest things are always impossible to ignore. So become it, not for the attention, not for the recognition, not for the approval of people who will not remember you 5 years from now. Become it for the version of yourself that is waiting on the other side of your discipline. For the life that discipline builds. For the peace that comes when you are no longer at war with yourself. For the confidence that grows not from what people say about you, but from what you know in private that you are capable of. That is the goal. Not to be seen, to be undeniable. There is a profound difference between the two. And when you finally understand that difference, everything changes. The world will notice, not because you demanded it, because you earned it, silently, consistently, completely. Become someone nobody can ignore. Comment. Become unignorable.